Good morning again, everybody. Here we go. All right. And good morning, Kaylee, on folks online. Special day, special day. It's a bittersweet day. SoKai is moving her practice elsewhere. So she's, I think, staying engaged here, still a friend of the Sangha for the rest of life, but she's done so much here and she's taking the main energy of her practice elsewhere. So we're going to finish today with a ceremony to say thank you for SoKai, to say a few words. And then the reason we didn't do tea is because we will finish after that with tea and scones, which SoKai's made and brought in, just large quantities of scones. And we'll see how long we have on that. We see if we feel like going out for lunch together after we've had this little social gathering here. But I wanted to start today with some Dharma content, because I think we need some Dharma content. And you'll be pleased to know, SoKai, I decided to go with this book, The Hidden Lamp, which is 100 koans. It's a contemporary collection of koans, which are all, they all feature women, and they each of them have a commentary by a contemporary female teacher. So I've gone with this, and the one in particular, this is a nod to SoKai, who brings very feminist energy to red clay and also very earthy energy. So here we go. Miaozong's Dharma interview. Before Miaozong became a nun, she used to visit Master Dahui Zonggao's monastery to study with him, and he gave her a room in the abbot's quarters. The senior monk, Huanan, did not approve. Dahui said to him, although she is a woman, she has outstanding merits. Huanan still disapproved, so Dahui urged him to have an interview with Miaozong. Huanan reluctantly agreed and requested an interview. Miaozong said, "Do you want a Dharma interview or a worldly interview?" "A Dharma interview," replied Huanan. Miaozong said, "Then send your attendants away." She went into the room first, and after a few moments she called, "Please come in." When Huanan entered, he saw Miaozong lying naked on her back on the bed. He pointed at her genitals, saying, "What is that place?" Miaozong replied, "All the Buddhas of the three worlds, the six patriarchs, and all the great monks everywhere come out of this place." Huanan said, "May I enter?" Miaozong replied, "Horses may cross, asses may not." Huanan was unable to reply. Miaozong declared, "I have met you, senior monk. The interview is over." She turned her back to him. Huanan left ashamed. Later, Dahui said to him, "The old dragon has some wisdom, doesn't she?" All right. So I'll come back and talk about the dialogue there a little bit in a minute, but first, just some context. Miaozong was the first recognized Chan teacher, female Chan teacher. She was born, I think, 1188, and she died about 1160. So 1088, she died about 1160. So she was basically first half of the 12th century Song dynasty, which was when this flavor of Chan was really flowering. This particular Koan-based flavor of Chan was flowering. She was born the granddaughter of the prime minister, I believe. She was born into nobility, into a very affluent family. She was married. Family married her, but she didn't like that, so she quit that and committed herself to the Dharma. And she became a student of Dahui. Dahui was remarkable. He was one of the towering figures of Chan. He really designed the modern approach to koans and created this whole idea of huato, which is the turning phrase within the koan that we focus on. So there's dog of Buddha nature, mu, or translated as a no, it doesn't really translate. But that mu is the turning phrase. So you just sit there and hold on to this mu. You don't worry about the whole koan, you just focus your attention on the mu. So that was, Dahui came up with that. He had a lot of, he was kind of controversial in his time, and he was exiled and brought back and exiled again. So that he was the abbot of this monastery. And he had a lot of lay disciples, most of whom were nobility. Also, they were well, not nobility, they were the educated class. They were the scholars and the administrators in the government. So a lot his teachings survive in these letters. There are a couple of collections, Dahue's letters. He also has a Koan collection. So by way of context for this, so I can come back and talk from it, I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from Dahue's letters to explain what's going on with these koans. So he says, and I read him because he says it's so much better than we can. Having seen that your faults are empty illusions, you will know that the creation of karma is also an illusion, that karmic retribution is an illusion, that deluded thought is an illusion, that delusion itself is an illusion, that past, present, and future are all illusion. If today you see your error, this will be illusory medicine that cures your illusory illness. When the illness is cured and the medicine is no longer necessary, you will be the same person that you were before. The notion that there is a special awakened you, a special Dharma to be awakened to, is the view of heretics and demons. So this is the same as we just chanted in the Heart Sutra. Everything is empty. What this, there is nothing here. So elsewhere he says, this is a dream. Buddha, the word Buddha is to wake up. So Buddha's experience was, we wake up from this dream. And Dharma was very explicit about this. He said, this dream is the same as the sleeping dream. If you see me in this dream, it's the same as seeing me when you're asleep. Absolutely all fabricated. All right, so that's one thing he says. Yeah, so, and then actually I'm going to skip the second one. I'm just going to read the third one. The third one is, where am I here? And he quotes in one of his letters, quotes from the Vimalakirti Sutra, the Buddha, addressing persons of overbearing arrogance, asserted that one must put aside attachment, aversion, and ignorance in order to gain emancipation. If he was addressing those who were free of overbearing arrogance, the Buddha asserted that the nature of attachment, aversion, and ignorance is emancipation itself. So what that's saying is, yeah, all of this is true. None of this is, quote, real. But if you have any craving, any clinging, any tendency to be attracted or to reject anything, that's not true for you. Well, that's not realized by you. It's true, but it's not realized by you. You have to get rid of those. You have to practice. You have to follow the precepts. You have to engage in serious practice to spot your vexations and to get rid of your vexations. So this is something that can easily be a mistake in this kind of practice and in some kind of Zen and Chan practice, where people say, I'm already awake. I don't have to do anything. Yes, you're already awake. Therefore, you need to practice so you can realize that. Very, very clear. Very clear. So he's talking from both sides. He's talking from the side of enlightenment. The realized being realizes this. That's what realized means. So the realized being is free and has access to the function of that freedom. The function of wisdom is compassion. Being free to be in the world from that place of freedom where there is no me there is to connect with suffering out of an open heart and complete compassion. Compassion isn't possible, true compassion, without this freedom. So he's talking from that side. And then he comes around and he talks from the other side and he says, okay, but for most of us out here, we don't have that experience. And so here are the teachings. Here are the teachings. And so I am actually going to see if I can find that third quote, which I've probably lost now, but if I have, I'll just tell you what it says, or roughly what it says. Yeah, I can't find it, but the gist of it is his practice, the practice that he teaches is Huatou practice. So you have to practice. That's what this book of letters is all about. You have to practice. That's what this book is all about. That's what the collection of koans that Miaozong came up with and she wrote commentaries on is all about. You have to practice if you're coming from the side of conventional reality. And his practice is follow the precepts and then keep your huatou in mind all the time, all the time. And this is analogous to me saying all the time, stay with your method. You have to have a method and you have to stay with your method. And if you've got wandering thoughts, it means your method's not present. Come back to your method. Following the breath. If you've got huatou, practice that. Silent illumination, body scan, whatever your method is. Come back to your method. And this leads to this experience of awakening, and then you can look at the other side of the conversation. So I could spend a long time on that, but I want to get to our ceremony today, so I'm conscious of time. Let me go back to the koan, and I'll talk through the koan with this context. And this is just dripping with content. It's really, really rich, really rich. So the setup's pretty straightforward, right? You've got this really exalted teacher who everybody at the time knew he was a big deal and really special. Sidebar, he actually was close friends with Hongzhi. And when Hongzhi was the guy who, his teachings are silent illumination, which comes down to us as Shikantaza and Zazen in Soto Zen. And his writings are incredibly profound. They're both poetic and incredibly beautiful. And they're very practical. So they capture both. It's really wonderful. So they were close friends. And to the extent that when Hongzhi predeceased Dahui, he was the abbot of another monastery and he left his affairs in the hands of Dahui to take care of. Subsequently, people say, well, Hongzhi disparaged silent illumination and all this teaching of Hongzhi. He was disparaging some practices which were kind of lame practices, but he wasn't disparaging that body. And the division that comes down to us today between Soto and Rinzai comes out of that misunderstanding. So these two were actually together at the time. And Guagu, who is my teacher down in Florida, he engages in both of these practices, Huatou and silent illumination. All right, so the setup's fairly straightforward here. You've got this exalted teacher, one of the most important teachers of his time. He brings this woman. How could he? He brings this woman into the monastery and gives her quarters, not just quarters, but in the abbot's wing. And so the senior monk was kind of miffed. All right, so have a Dharma interview. Reluctantly, sure, okay, I'll do that. And he's expecting to just completely floor this woman, right? Do you want a Dharma interview or a worldly interview? That's such a great setup. Because we've got these two directions this conversation can take. This conversation is actually happening on many levels, many levels. But we'll just look at these two levels because they're the superficial levels, right? The Dharma level is this pithy exchange of senior practitioners, which is at this level of the ultimate. It's the conversation from the side of the ultimate, just knocking sparks off each other to test each other's understanding and awakening. And then you've got this invitation to a worldly interview, which is from the side of the conventional. It can be about anything. It can be about genuinely what we're having for lunch. Or it can be, can you help teach me because I want to wake up? Worldly conversation. So you've got this setup, and he says, I want the Dharma interview. Now, from the side of awakening, there's actually no difference. This body in the Mahayana tradition, there's the Trikaya, the three bodies, the um, Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. The Dharmakaya is the awakened body. It's the body that we're talking about here, where there's no this, no that, no nothing. It's the it's being it's the knowing that there is no body here. It's that pervasiveness that doesn't land. It's totally beyond words. This is the awakened body of the Buddha, which each of us has in us and is called the Buddha nature, right? That's the Dharmakaya. The Sambhogakaya is the bliss body. That's what it's called. And that it's kind of an energy body. That's the body that shows up and teaches, that's fluid, that's flexible. It shows up as people need it. So if you need somebody to be kind, it shows up as a kind person. If you need somebody to be harsh, it shows up harsh. If you need somebody to help you sew your trousers, they show up and help you sew your trousers. If you need somebody to do some gardening, to look after your kids, the Sambhogakaya is this, it's just this total fluidity. Doesn't quite land. It's as if there, as if not there, right? And then the Nirmanakaya is the physical embodiment. Just this sack of skin and bones. That's the Nirmanakaya. And the Buddha's Nirmanakaya was that physical body that was there doing the teaching. So these teachings are at these levels of these different bodies, is one way of looking at it. And I say that to come to. So she invited him back in after the preamble, and she's lying naked on the bed. What does that mean? What is this naked body? We have these three bodies. What body is there? Which of the three bodies is there? They're all there. And this conversation can be taken at each of those levels. And this was her response to him saying, yes, I want a Dharma conversation. Here I am. Prove it. What is a Dharma conversation? Here. He pointed at genitals and said, what's this place? Is this Dharma conversation, dude? What's going on here? So maybe. And so she tests him. All the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, all the patriarchs come from this place. What does that mean? Which of these bodies are we talking about? We immediately jump to womb, uterus, babies come out, right? Just the life function of a physical body. That's what the immediate place is. That is a worldly interview. So she's teeing this up with this language that looks like worldly language about the physicality of this female body. But it's also got this very strong valence of awakened nature, which is in all bodies. It's in each of you. Each of you. It's what you really are. These two conversations going on at the same time. Just so powerful. Wanan says, and may I enter? Okay, so what? I have no idea what's going on here. You can't tell, but actually, let me restate that. He's the head monk, so he's not adult. So he is also talking at several levels, but you don't really know where he's drawn, right? But the worldly level is intercourse, of course. But at the Dharma level, all the Buddhas and patriarchs woke up. Can I wake up too? Can I move into the Dharma nature? So it's just this loaded, rich conversation. And then she floors him with this. Horses may enter, horses may cross, asses may not. He has nothing to say to that. And again, you can read that at these different levels. What I've just given you is an intellectual understanding of this, right? This is to unpack it and see how this is actually constructed. But what's really going on here in this dialogue, as a Dharma dialogue, there is no thinking going on in here. This is intuitive response. This is the instruction on how to practice with Wata. If you start trying to do this with the discursive mind, it doesn't work. Just flat out doesn't work. So the real test is, how does this male monk respond when he moves into this room and is presented with, to his complete shock, this naked female? What is the response there? And at the end of the conversation, which is a short conversation, he has no response. He's stuck. And to be stuck is to be completely without freedom. This freedom isn't ludicrous slapping people around the head or kicking them or throwing things around. It's freedom. You can get up and walk out. There's lots of things you can do. You can do whatever naturally happens. But she completely blocked his freedom with this move. I have seen you. What did she say? I have met you, senior monk. The interview is over. You lose. So, Miaozong actually wrote collected I think there's 43 koans in a book. She wrote commentaries on them, and it became a well-known collection. And then two, it's probably others, but there were two, I think 17th century Chinese nuns also wrote commentaries on that. That actually exists in English. So um, I didn't realize that till yesterday. Do you have a copy? Well, I didn't know you even knew it existed. So I ordered a copy. That was going to be a gift from the Sangha to you. So, but I don't have it yet. Um, so just a couple of words from there migrating to the ceremony. This was thinking of SoKai. She's brought so much to red clay. So I'm going to say just a few informal words, and then we'll gather in a circle to do formal ceremony. SoKai's brought so much to red clay. I intended to look up, but forgot to look up the first retreat you came on. But this was like over 10 years ago. I'm thinking it was probably 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. So we were, red clay at the time was a bunch of 20 people, something like that, who'd left a Soto Zen community. So that's where this service with the Heart Sutra and so forth originates. And SoKai was an insight practitioner, and she came to red clay. Well, I'm going to put words in their mouth. They're not quite right, but they'll approximate. I have no idea what any of this ritual or any of this ceremony is about. I really don't understand most of the words you're using here, but there's something about this place that I kind of like, so I'm going to come here. And then she came on the retreats, and she just started helping and started doing stuff, and then started sharing in the operations and teaching. And the next thing you know, she's becoming a Zen practitioner, when most of the folks in this Sangha are drifting the other way. So we cross in the middle. So here we are now. SoKai is our Zen practitioner, wearing her rakusu, which is her Zen vestment. So she's brought so much to us over the years. So grateful to her. And with that, I will just stop talking, and we will gather in a little ceremony. And the purpose of this little ceremony is actually SoKai's idea. She suggested doing this. I think it's a wonderful idea because she wanted to say thank you and farewell, but it's also an invitation for us to say thank you and farewell. So we'll gather in a circle, we'll do the little ritual thing, and then we'll have scones and tea. Did you want to say anything first? You look like you're about to say something.
Just put all the pillows and everything on the side, put them on an empty circle in the middle.
Yeah. So gather around in a circle around the middle and clear the middle. And I'm going to stop recording and flip microphones here back to the other one.